right, so welcome to the Tonya Whittle experience.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Me too. So you asked the question. So what I like to have is very little background on anything, just because I like to be able to just dive into it, like trust my instincts while I'm here and not really have any background on this. So you asked me, basically, I'd like you now to kind of tell me what's going on in your world, or in your own words, in your life. You're struggling to communicate with people. So tell me what's happening in your life that's kind of making you put your hand up now and say, this is a problem for me. I don't know what's causing it, and I really want to solve it. So tell me what's going on in your life.
Well, the communication thing has always been there for me. I've always kind of felt like I didn't really connect quite well with people, but now specifically it's coming up because I got this promotion at work. I'm a manager now, so I'm talking with a lot more people, and it's bringing up all these insecurities, these feelings that I guess have always been there that I didn't really let myself go into because I didn't want to. So right now it's kind of feeling a little like twofold. So there's the physical like act of communicating that I sometimes struggle with, where I'm like stuttering and stammering and like can't get my words and I'm losing my train of thought. But then there's also the second part of like actual connection with people, where I just feel like there's a block here where I'm not connecting right. And it seems like people are so like, they so easily express themselves. And for me, I feel like I'm straining through all my social interactions, you know?
So your communication problems, not just as in your, congratulations on your promotion, by the way, that's exciting. So I'm going to
Thank
ask
you.
you first, I want to ask you about the promotion. Like, are you struggling with the promotion?
A little bit, actually. Yeah. I don't want
Okay.
to admit it, but yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So because that's one of the things that is really like, it's sort of there for me in the space with you is, are you actually able to really celebrate the promotion? Like, are you able to really feel that have been successful at your job and just got a promotion? Are you able to really feel that and experience that and be in that?
I I kind of celebrated it a little bit, but I don't think the energy's actually there, because I felt this the other day where somebody asked for the manager and I was so hesitant to say it was me. Like, I'm not owning it at all. And I don't want to be like that. I actually want to own this, right? So
Yeah.
I definitely need to step into it a little bit more. But I'm like nervous because I guess on some level don't feel like I'm good enough for it. But
Mm.
yeah.
So what's interesting is we do this thing that's like fake celebration, where we go to the dinner and, our friends give us a toast, or someone, everybody high fives us, or we make a post or something and we say we did it, but like, we don't own it. It's not part of us. It's like something really good happens and it's a bit separate from us. So I'm asking this because I feel it is absolutely directly connected to the communication piece. And so you have a physical reaction to your inability to communicate. And that's not just at your job, it's in your personal life as well.
Yes.
Okay. What are you afraid of?
In terms of communication?
No, in terms
I
of
mean,
like, what are you scared of? What scares you?
what scares me? The thing that's coming up right now is not belonging, even though I've created myself to be this very like independent person who doesn't need people, you know, but that's probably like yeah.
Well, oftentimes, yeah, like belonging is something that's really important to us, as human beings. We're social creatures, we're tribal creatures, really, where we, really feed off of community, and we're not designed to be isolated. So it can absolutely be a challenge to be an independent woman in today's world, and then also be a part of a community where being part of a community means that we need people and people need us. So we're sort of, modern women are really living a really difficult challenge right now, because it's like, fuck this shit, I got this. But then also, but like, fuck, I need people, but then like, fuck, I don't need anybody, so we're always in this like battle sort of with ourselves with some of these things. But you say what scares you most is not belonging, but I'm going to ask you if that's really true.
Mm, it doesn't feel as deep as I could go, I suppose.
It doesn't feel true. That's why, because
Mhm.
when you say it doesn't feel deep, it doesn't feel true.
Yeah.
So is it true that what you're really afraid of is the opposite of that?
Ooh, interesting.
What would happen if you belonged? What would happen if you fit in? What would happen if you owned the management position? What would happen if you owned your greatness? What would happen if you owned the management position? What would happen if you owned the promotion? What would happen if you were good enough?
Then I guess I'd have to step up, you know, and
You'd have to live up
yeah,
to it.
yeah.
There's also, I'm going to go in a secondary direction with this one as well, because that's one of them. Like we say we want belonging, but most of us are terrified of it. We're actually terrified to belong or to fit in. And I know this is like and all of Brenny's work talks about how, vulnerability is strength. And I really agree with that. But she also talks about ultimately the greatest human need is belonging. And I think that that's true at the level of the soul. But at the level of our human conditioning, I believe that the greatest human need is certainty.
Mm.
It's safety, it's security. And that really aligns with our tribal connection, because if you think about it, for many of us in the hierarchy of needs, we don't get into emotion. A lot of us don't get into emotional or spiritual challenges until we've reached a level where our, financial, our food, our shelter, all of these basic needs are met. So I believe that we're not really worried about having friends or fitting in or any of these kinds of things until our safety and our security is met, because otherwise we're trying to survive. And if we're in survival mode, we're not really focused in fitting in. So what ends up happening to a lot of people, once those needs are met, now we have energy and space that can go to, a higher level. And so emotional problems, oftentimes, or emotional challenges, are a privilege. It means we're growing, and it means we're certainly not worried about, say, where our housing or our next meal is coming from. Not that those things wouldn't cause fear, but it's a different kind of fear. Probably people who are facing homelessness or, these kinds of challenges are not really worried about if people like them or, if they fit in somewhere, because they're like just trying to survive, right? So when we have subsistence lifestyle, not just in our modern world with homelessness, but in a subsistence society, or people in societies where people have to get up every day and go to the markets, go get their food. They have to make their money before they can get their food. Many of those people, they're not thinking ahead of where they are right now. And so a lot of us end up, thinking that it's belonging that we're really struggling with, but we think, we do want to fit in, and it comes there, but safety, security, and certainty, I believe, are the greatest challenges of human behavior in a modern world, not because our housing or our food is at risk, but because our person is at risk. Our soul is at risk. If you've experienced, there's no woman on this planet, certainly that I've ever met, that has not experienced fear of her own body. There's no one, because even if you didn't have anything happen, we live in a culture where we are constantly conditioned and afraid that it could happen. And we all know someone that happened too. So then throw in not only the fear of it possibly happening all the time, but then if it did happen, if any kind of, sexual violence, physical violence, these kinds of violent acts have happened, then we're going to be triggered into a survival state. So when we go into a survival state, we've got, you're not worried about where your food's coming from, but you're triggered in a different way of, I just got to get through my day. 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 And you don't even know what you're waiting for. I used to have this thing, I would say, it's like I'm waiting to live. And I remember, it was my boyfriend at the time, my husband now, would say to me, what do you mean you're waiting to live? And I'm like, it's like, I got to get this done, and I got to get that done. And it's like, I've got to pay my student loan, and then I got to save for a house, and then I got this, and then I got this. And he's like, there's always going to be something though. But I lived like that for a very long time. It's like I can't relax until the next thing is done, until the next thing's we're chasing stuff and we don't even know what we're doing because it's a trauma response oftentimes. So we're chasing certainty when we have certainty because we don't even feel that we're certain because the certainty is coming from outside of us instead of inside. And so we're always at this fear that it's gonna go. So I kind of digressed on that a little bit, and I'm going to swing back to why I think that that matters here in this case, because you say that what actually scares you is not belonging. I think we cleared up what actually scares you is belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Because what would happen if you belonged? Just whatever's there.
Oh no, I never really put myself into the mindset of that. I'm always just in this mindset of like, oh, I don't. What would happen if I did belong? Maybe I'd stop like searching for other things. I'd stop chasing, maybe.
Yes. And then what would happen if we had nothing to chase? What would happen if we didn't have some part of ourselves to fix? What would happen if we were enough?
It's so funny because I just want to like reject that idea.
I know you do. I know
Yeah.
you do. And here's where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go deeper. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because is it true that in order for you to belong, you would have to let down some of these walls?
I
Like
believe so. Yeah.
there's always a block with people, not just people at work, but even with your friends. There's a block.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in order for you to belong, to feel a sense of belonging, is it true that you would have to let down those walls?
Yeah.
And then what would happen if you let down those walls?
I'm afraid that there's going to be like a waterfall that I can't stop, or that people will think I'm like weird and crazy and all the things that, all the
That you
stories that I
are.
built up. Yeah.
You just think they're wrong. So, but let me go here. I'm going to put some words in your mouth. And I want you to forget that I'm recording this, and I want you to forget that people might see this and all this stuff, because I want you to relax into this conversation. But I want you to say this: if you let your walls down and people got to see the real Jennifer,
Mm-hmm.
people like, who are you when it's just you in your bedroom by yourself, you with pets or you with animals, or, in these places. If you let down all your walls and you stepped into these spaces at work and with friends or, anywhere, if you just walked around, imagine walking around the world being yourself and not wondering what people think of you and just believing that you're enough already. And you let all those walls down and just see yourself in that place where you're open. What would happen if you let all those walls down? I am not what? I want you to say that I am not.
I am not.
There's one specific word I'm looking for. And when we land on it, it's going to be like, so we talked about certainty, and I can never put it in your mouth because I need to lead you to this place of this word.
Yeah.
Relax, forget about, anything else. Just pretend we're in like Peru or Costa Rica somewhere. And like, we're just, vibing, and it's just us. It's just us having a conversation. And because that's all we're doing. We're just having a conversation. So I am not what if I'm open in the world?
the word coming is enough.
Sort of. I'm going to go
Mhm.
somewhere. Let's go deeper.
Mhm.
I got to find a word. I got to find a way around this. I mean, I will go there if I have to, but I like it to be in your own
Yeah.
words. So, do you feel secure in who you are in the world?
Not in the world. When I'm by myself, I really like who I am. But in the world, I'm like, I don't.
So, if you took all those walls down, when you're out in the world, you are not what?
Normal.
I actually think this is very normal. It's not
Is
soul
that?
normal. It's not a soul normal thing, but it's definitely a human behavior thing. So let's talk about certainty.
Yeah.
And then I asked you if you're secure. Do you feel secure?
Safe.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I am not safe. Say it.
I don't want to.
I know. That's where it comes from, right? It's like certainty. So you've developed certainty from holding yourself back. The stammering and the stuttering and the communication problems and the walls with your friends and people at work and not being able to embrace your promotion. Like I wrote a book and I got a book deal. And then like I didn't even do anything with it because I was almost ashamed of getting it. Like I couldn't celebrate it. It's only now. Sometimes I go on like Amazon and Chapters and I put my name in and then I'm like it's real. It's there. You know, I hold it in my hand sometimes like I couldn't do it back then, even though because we push away the goodness, we push away the greatness because we feel like, yes, all of that, I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. You know, people are going to find out that I'm a fraud. All of these like inner stuff, you know, sit there for us. But in your case, the root of this is that you don't feel safe being yourself. So you hide
And
your.
that's why, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, that's why I hide myself. Yeah, exactly, in my room and everything, because I'm trying to protect myself because I really like who I am. I think I'm awesome, but I don't want anybody to hurt that, because I've spent so long building myself up after all this old shit, you know, and I don't want to lose that again.
So what you're really afraid of is intimacy.
Yeah.
Like actual intimacy. And I'm not talking about, you know, just sexual intimacy. Like that's only one part of intimacy. I'm talking about friendship, belonging, like real belonging in the world where there's no separation between you and what's happening around you. There's no bubble or wall or, you know, I'm willing to bet that you go through your day and you're you when you go home in your own safe cocoon. But when you're out there, it's like you're living with cellophane between you and the world. You can see it, they can see you, but you can't feel or touch anything. And it just feels like you want to because that's your soul. That's like, you know what, we're meant for this. We want more. So the problem is that one of the deepest human needs is belonging,
Yeah.
is intimacy, it's love, it's connection. And not just connection anyone can get. This is why so many marriages are unhappy and so many people are unhappy in their relationships because they settle for connection and they're too scared. People are married to the right people, but cannot let themselves open up to them. And so they don't need to go get a divorce or, you know, many times they just need to put their walls down. And it's the same thing between girlfriends and friends and family members more often than not, is what we're really terrified of is that someone's going to see us and hurt us. in ways that we think we're not going to recover from. You know, many people, what happens if you fall in totally in love with someone and then they die?
Mhm.
I mean, things completely out of our control. What if you fall totally in love with someone and, you know, they leave you? What if you open up and you just allow yourself to step into this powerful place inside of you, and you go out there and you want to make these amazing friendships, and then they reject you? They don't like you, or they don't accept you for who you are. So what we do somewhere along the way in your life, you made a decision, not a decision, a soul contract, that you didn't need any of these things. You don't need other people. You only need yourself. You are safe alone. You are safe behind walls, and you convinced yourself. And you know what? When we're 14, 15, 16, even, you know, any of these things, especially in our teen years, when we are just like crazy, and we can hold a grudge like nobody's business, like nobody's business. And, you know, we can, it's like, you know, the arms crossed, foot stamped, I don't need anybody. And it's like a door slammed. But the only person we isolate and we hurt is ourselves. And so the communication and the stammering and the stuttering and your inability to talk to people is because you are not there. You're trying to be what they want you to be in that moment. And you are filtering everything through, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I wearing the right thing?
It's so exhausting.
Got to be exhausting. You are putting on a show, and then you come home. So you come home and the only relief you get is when you're alone by yourself in your bedroom. And then you have to get up and do it all again the next day. And then if you do decide to go out with friends, and you've got to do it all, then you just change outfits and you go out, and because you're not there, you can't be there. You're not open. So your communication problem has nothing to do with like a communication problem. It has everything to do with the fact that you won't let people see you because you made a decision a long time ago that you didn't need any of these things.
It's so funny because I can hear myself whenever I have this like desire to let somebody close, or even if I kind of let something slip that's a little bit more me, and I go back and I'm like judging myself through their eyes. And then I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. They can like leave me. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't need them. It doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
it's a whole story. Yeah.
It's a whole story. You've got a whole thing designed around it. And then not only that, but you're assuming that you know that you're not only have you made up a story about what they think about you, but then you're also like, you're literally having like a 3-part argument and you're still fucking losing.
Yeah.
You're arguing with like 3 parts of your own brain and still not even winning. Like if you're going to argue with yourself, you should be winning. This is, and why I say, when I said earlier, when you said I'm not normal, you know, no one's normal. What the fuck is normal anyway? Who defined normal for any of us? And the other thing is, I actually think that this is very normal from what I see and how I, you know, I work and everything that I do. All this is normal. I used to, when I first was thinking about telling people. So, you know, I've been very open in the last few years about my sexual abuse, but I'd never said anything, and I never had friendships. Like I had lots of friends, and all those friends are still really amazing friends. But I couldn't let them in, because if you're hiding a huge part of yourself, then you're always assessing everything through that part that you're hiding. So whether it's a wall because you think that you're not good enough, or it's a wound that, you know, is traumatic and deep, then it doesn't really matter where it comes from. What matters is that at some point in time, we put up a wall and said, I'm not enough. And so then we go out there trying to be enough and trying to fit into these places. But it's like going out into like a room with shoes on that are like 2 sizes too big. You're clopping around, you're clumsy. And even people around you can feel it. They might not know what it is. They might not be, no one will probably sit down and say, geez, Jennifer seems like she's got some real walls up, or she's got some self-esteem issues. They're not going to say it like that. And they might not even, they feel it and they might never even articulate it. And it's not until you say something. Like when I told my friends, about my abuse, and this comes off my tongue now, but I had said to a friend of mine, we were out on a hike and I was trying to tell her and I couldn't even get the words out and she had to say them for me. That's how bad this was 5 years ago. I couldn't speak about, my own experience, and my journey then was to, like, own what happened to me, because it was a whole part of my soul that was missing because I was shoving away what had happened. And in order for me to be whole, I had to bring that whole experience back into me. And that meant healing. If that was going to come home, that meant healing it all. And that's ugly, right? Not just for like this, some of these are big, but like some of them, I mean, I was actually flipping through my book today and I completely forgot about this, because sometimes when you heal things too, you actually forget. Like when they're authentically healed, there's times I completely forget unless something comes up and I'm like, oh, right, I was abused or, and I know that that's not funny, but before it was always there. It lived in the back of my mind. I never spoke about it. No one knew about it. I would not be a victim, all of that strong, empowered, I won't be any of these things language, but I became more of a victim because of that. Because I wouldn't embrace it, because I wouldn't, heal it. Doesn't mean that I make it okay or that I make it right. It's still very wrong what happened, but I had to bring the parts of me that were hurt and harmed back and not pretend that they didn't exist to be some better, more liked version, that whole version that society would like. And then when I started talking about it, everywhere I went, from the grocery store to business meetings to, you wouldn't believe the places women leaned in and said, me too. Or you just told my story. And that was when I knew that what I'd opened up was something that was even more powerful. And then what I found was there was nothing between me and people. There was no space. The more that I healed, the more that I could just be myself in this space. There was nothing there. And now I've developed some of the deepest, most profound friendships that I've ever had in my entire life, not just with, friends, but with people. I feel like when I'm out in the world, I really don't give a shit what you think of me, but also, like, you're going to like me. I'm kidding. But it's because there's something authentic that's in the space where there's just our truth. And it doesn't mean that we've got to, I'm not going to go to the grocery store and people, how are you? Or ask me questions. I don't tell my life story. There's just nothing between me. There's nothing hidden in a vault that I'm constantly walking around trying to protect. Imagine if you had a newborn baby and, you were in a war zone and you're walking around and you don't want anybody to hurt that baby. That's what our wounds are like when they're not healed, or when we believe we're not enough. It's like walking around like in a traumatized state all the time, living in constant fight or flight, trying not to let people see that we don't think we're enough, or our lack of worthiness, or, how weird we are, or will they think we're fun, or will they think all these things about us? When you're filtering through all those places, you can't be in the room.
And I feel it like I'm not. And I know that other people feel it too. I can feel them feeling it. And then I just get myself more wound up,
Then you're like, I gotta go to my room.
Exactly.
And then you judge yourself, and then you make the situation harsher, because then you review everything you said, you criticize. So you've got this like real demon of negative self-talk. And it comes from a deep fear of actually belonging. Not belonging. It's like Marianne Williamson's poem, we're not afraid of our darkness, it's our light we're afraid of. And in your case, it's very much, it's not actually that you're afraid of not belonging, because you've not belonged your whole fucking life. You've got that mastered.
Yeah.
You're actually terrified of wanting to belong and getting rejected. So before people can do that, you've taken yourself you're on the sideline saying, I don't want that anyway.
Yeah.
But in order for you to live the life that you want to live, and to have the relationships, the career, the friendships, the life that you really want to live, that requires you to get back on the road and start walking. Like, you got to get off the sidelines.
So scary.
It is, but it's also so worthy.
Yeah.
Right? It's so worthy when you live and don't. Most people in this world are just existing. Even the fact that you're signing up and putting your hand up right now saying, I want to solve this problem because it's hurting me. And there's no quick answer to say, how do I just let my walls down?
Yeah.
It has to
I
become
was going
something.
to ask, how do I fix this?
Everybody always wants, how do I fix it? And it's, I wish I had a magic wand. I have a magic wand to get to what the real problem is.
Mhm.
I don't have a magic wand to fix the problem, because that's where the daily work and the bravery comes in. The courage to be vulnerable, the courage to let people not like you, the courage to be yourself, the courage to stammer and stutter. People find this hilarious, but the very first speaking engagement I had, I completely like choked and didn't say anything. I was asked to go to a warm up for an event, and they wanted me to say a few words before we did the warm up. And somebody had gotten on stage and they just told this devastating story about a loss of a family member. And I was like, how do you follow that with like trying to pump an audience up? Today, I will be able to do that because I would know how to step into that situation, hold my power through it, hold them through it, hold the whole audience through it. It wouldn't matter if it was thousands of fucking people. I could do that today, but I could only do that because I got back up on another fucking stage.
Yeah.
And I choked, and there was like, I mean, I say that this was my biggest audience. Like, I would say that was 100% my biggest audience. Like, the fucking gym was full, and I had like a bunch of people on the stage doing a warm up, ready to go. And I, deer in headlights, choked. Didn't say anything for an awkwardly long time, and then just jumped into, okay, let's squat. So I managed to still do the warm up, but I mean, I was like mortified. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me. I felt so ashamed of myself and so much. But then I got asked to do another one, and I did it. And this time I was better. And then every time I got better and I got better, because we've got to be willing to be bad at things, and we've got to be willing to fuck up, and we've got to be willing to fail. So there's always going to be people are attacking Oprah and Tony Robbins and, fucking Barack Obama and, Gandhi and, Nelson Mandela. Like, people hate them. And like, these are some of the most inspirational people in the world who give more and donate more and help more people. And they still can't do enough, and they still can't get it right. Because if you listen to the wrong people, no doubt they don't read those comments, because you learn not to, because what did their opinion matter anyway? The great thing is that one thing I will say, how you can actually know how to fix this is you've got to realize that when you are yourself, the people who don't like you are not your people. And if you change yourself for it to be liked by people, it will never lead you anywhere other than pain. Most likely the people in your life already love you for who you are. They're just waiting for you to show up.
They totally are. Like, I have so many people in my life that I absolutely know that if I were to be myself, then they'd be so excited because they know it's there, right? But then at work, it feels a bit more dangerous because I'm like, it literally feels like survival, because I'm like, if I don't fit in, meet this status quo, then maybe they won't like me as much, and they won't, give me these opportunities anymore, or they'll fire me, which is kind of catastrophizing, but
Absolutely. But this is where we go, and we go there to stay small. We go there to stay behind these walls. This keeps you safe, because what you're ultimately trying to get is safety. So what you want to remember from this is all of this is just to make you safe. So the question becomes is, how can you make yourself safe in these environments? And then, because a lot of work will ask us to like just skip over this stuff, but the reality is where you are in your life right now, and what you're going to be triggered by is the moment of not feeling safe. And so in these moments, you could just immediately try to ask yourself, I know when we're at work or these kinds of things, or at parties or with people in the moment, it can be a little bit hard, but the more you practice, the better that you get, is, creating a mantra for yourself in those moments where you just hear safe. I am safe. It is safe to be myself. I am safe. It is safe to be myself. And if you continue that mantra regularly. And it's going to be really important in the moments that you don't feel safe, in the moments that you feel triggered, in the moments that you don't, that you don't want to answer that question, in the moment that you don't want to tell someone that you're a manager, in those moments where, all of those things are happening, that's the moment it matters. It's the same thing, the workout that matters is the workout that we didn't want to do. That's the one that builds our resilience. That's the one that builds the habit. It's easy to do when we want to do it. It's easy to do it when we feel safe. It's easy to do when it's all those things, but it's not easy to do in the moment that we're triggered by something. But in the moment, if you can step into that, you can really, 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 really call back all of your power by reminding yourself that you are safe, and create a practice for you. I can send you some things after, to like create a practice for yourself of like giving yourself safety and feeling safe when you're out in the world, and giving yourself permission to be yourself, because what has to happen is you have to get okay. And you have to start reminding yourself that if people don't like you for who you are, they're not your people. And if they reject you, like, rejection is redirection. Some people also say rejection is God's protection. So if you think about it this way, if people don't like you, if someone says no to you or doesn't like you, I mean, this is saving you a whole lot of time than changing yourself to be liked by them, to wake up in 5 years in the wrong life, in the wrong house, wearing the wrong clothes, and wondering how the fuck you got here and why is everything wrong. Because if you change yourself, that's all that ends up happening. So what has to happen is that you have to build an inner resilience to not being liked, and to actually not belonging where you don't belong, and being open to belonging where you do belong. As they say, let your freak flag fly. How else would the other freaks know where you are?
Exactly.
So it's a daily practice. So we know the root cause. So now at least anytime that you hear yourself saying, I can't communicate, I struggle to communicate, I don't know what to say. And before you start like saging your throat chakra.
It was always saying like, oh yeah, it's a throat chakra thing. It's definitely something like here, but no, totally. It's totally just safety.
It's
Wow.
safety, and it's a root chakra issue. So every time you actually hear yourself say, I'm not, or you might not hear anything, you just might be in the moment. It's like, it's a root chakra. So you can also do grounding exercises, see your root chakra going in the right direction, see it glowing red, see it, moving in the right place. You can also see the earth, just before you go to work, or every morning when you get to work, pull the earth up, into your root, and like feel protected, and see a light come down so that you feel divinely, protected and earthly connected, so that you feel like, you're being supported at the root, in all ways. But, a lot of the times when we think it's about our voice, a lot of people mistakenly think that it's the throat chakra, but it's not. It's what's happening is that the root chakra is shutting down the throat chakra, because the root is in control of your voice saying, shut up. Yeah. That's what's happening. It's not at all to do with your voice, because you do know what to say. You do know what to write. You do know what you want. You do know all these things when you're fully in your power. And it's about you making a decision that you want to come back, like, into the world, that you want to be here, that you want to be alive, that you want, your power to be retrieved, your soul to be fully retrieved, that you're telling yourself this has to be a daily practice of calling all parts of yourself back. And if there's like a reason, now I do soul and power retrievals, but every day that we're doing the work, we're calling parts of ourselves back, with your reminders, your mantras, your grounding, all of those, you're calling yourself back. And if you start to notice things like that might need to be healed, so there might be healing work in order for that power to fully be restored to you, because it can't come back if there's something else in the way, but you just keep doing it. And if something shows up to be healed, you heal it, and then you keep calling more back. And that's all we're ever really doing is, we're unbecoming. Right? We're not becoming anything. We're unbecoming what we're not. You became a lot of things to make yourself feel safe in a world where you didn't feel safe. Now you need to unbecome that. And that is like, basically, you're ripping off. It's like a snake shedding its skin. You're like, dying fully to that old identity that just doesn't serve you. It helped you when you needed it, but now it's holding you back. And so that has to be let go. And a big part of that is making a decision. you've got to erase the decision that you don't want to be here. Eating disorders, disordered eating, all of those kinds of things, they're all a statement to the universe, I don't want to be here. And when we actually write a new contract and say, I want to be here, like, I love life. This place is fucking amazing. I have amazing friends. There's so much to experience. I've got money in my pocket. I've got, a place to live. I've got a great job. I just got a fucking promotion. Like, rock the shit out of that. Like, this is like, life is incredible when you're living it. I look back now, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I ever was even that person who didn't want to live and who hid myself. And I'm not like, there's a song out now that we all hear on the radio. It's like, it's like, I can't remember what the name of it is, but you'll know it, where it's like, she says, you don't want to, it's like, you don't really want to live, but you don't really want to die. And that's what I mean. Like, you're not actually, you wouldn't sit down and say, I am suicidal, or I have suicidal ideations, but it's about this feeling about, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in this pain. I don't want to be in this experience. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how, so then you're desperately shutting down to try to save yourself. But then at the same time, you also desperately want to live. So it's this constant conflict that's happening between your soul and your conditioning. Right. And so the soul is saying, come on, let's go out there and experience life because it's really fucking amazing out there. And then your fear is like, yeah, it's only amazing if people like you. It's only amazing if you know what the right things to say. It's only amazing if you dress right and if you do this right. But like, to the right people, none of that matters. It's only to the wrong people that shit matters. And now you go, thanks for showing me who you are and saving me the time. Yeah. What a waste of years sometimes if you're trying to please people and trying to fit in where you don't belong. And instead, you get to wake up now every day and say, I want to be here and I'm safe in the world because I'm in control of my life and I'm in control of my choices and my space and the people around me. So you're safe. And now you just got to remind your nervous system that you're safe and make it safe for all your soul parts and your power parts to come back, because you don't need to fade away in order to be safe. It's safe for you to be in this world. And then you're not going to have a problem talking. You'll probably have a problem.
And then I'll actually be able to share all the things that I have always had inside that I'm like, oh, I want to share this with people. I want to express this, but not know how,
That, and there's so much power, because what you're really doing is with this root chakra issue and your safety issue, you're shutting down your power and you're shutting down your voice. And that voice comes to you not just through speaking to people, but it comes through writing as well. And so you've also got a big story around, it's not safe to share authentically through your voice or through, your pen in any of those areas. So it's like, your root chakra absolutely is shutting down your throat chakra, but your throat's not the problem. It's the root that's saying it's not safe. And so can you make yourself safe? Because it's not belonging that you're really after, it's safety. Because you already belong. Yeah. How does that feel?
Feels good. It feels true. Yeah. Wow. And I feel like I've been building up to this for quite a while now, and hopefully I think this is like the last little, hopefully, like, piece of the puzzle, and I can kind of figure it out a little bit more.
I don't think the puzzle ever ends, just to give yourself permission. Yes, there's pieces of our puzzle that are really important for us to get to, and we figure out pieces of those puzzle. But I believe that we're always, if we're growing and we're living this work and we're growth people, we're going to be doing this work forever. And so I always remind people of that, because I don't want people to go out thinking, that, oh, I'm just going to do this thing and then it's over, because then we get sorely disappointed when suddenly there's something there for us to grow again. And then what should happen is when you have a breakthrough, then you do the integration work, do the daily work until you believe it and it's a part of you, and then just live your life and enjoy it. And the next time something comes and knocks on the door for you, then you explore that and you go in through that again. But then you have a process and let's pull this up. Let's see what this is really about. So then you present the problem, find out what the real problem is, and then do the integration work to change things so that you can really move to that next level. And that's really how we get to do it. And each time, like sometimes I could be a year now in between reimagining or down days or growth phases that I've got to go through. Whereas before the first couple of years of this, I mean, I felt like I was ripping off big, ugly band-aids and healing deep wounds for the first couple of years every day. It was exhausting, but then because I kept going, now I don't have to do as much of it. And when it does come, it's sort of exciting because you know, when you hit that wall, it's like, what's next? So it gets exciting to do growth work because you know something better is coming.
Yeah. And uh, I mean, I definitely understand now my more understand my desire to isolate,
Yeah.
but
And now what you
I
have
don't want to.
no, and now what you have to do is like pull up those experiences, heal those experiences, anything that is, because a lot of it's probably healed, but you're just not like you're still stuck in a pattern. So now you've got to do, the mindset work, the emotional work, the mantra work to actually keep yourself, remembering that you're safe and continue to repattern and recondition that every day. Usually takes a couple of months for us to like recondition something. So we do that work every single day, do grounding exercises, do all this stuff, remind yourself of who you are. And then one day you're just going to feel safe. And that when you start to feel safe, that's when you'll be able to start being yourself. If you try to get out there and be yourself before you feel safe, it's going to be really hard. But the more that you practice safety, the easier it's going to be just to be yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I think about it and I'm like, how can I do this very like systematically? And then I'm like, if I go out and try this right now, I'm just going to share all my secrets, and that's not
that's not safe.
safety. That's just being.
That's
Mhm.
not safe at all, right? Because not everybody has a right to
No.
energy or stories, who we are. It's about, give yourself the safety first. And as you start to give yourself the safety, your central nervous system and your fight or flight will dial back. And then when that starts to dial back and your system starts to calm down, then your soul will be allowed out and your soul will tell you who to trust. Everybody's not trustworthy. That's the world we live in. Like everybody's not trustworthy, and we can't, do some of these spiritual practices that are very outdated and toxic, in my opinion, which is like, just, everybody what do they say? Everyone's a beautiful soul. No, they're not. No, they're not. And that's really toxic fucking bullshit to walk around with. There's people out there who would like absolutely harm you and get pleasure out of it. So, saying, oh, everyone, is an amazing soul. No, they're not. And you need to be able to protect yourself, but you've got to protect yourself against the wrong people and not against the right people. But what you're doing is you're protecting yourself against everything, because, to you, the whole world was scary. So it's better to have nothing and then try to like figure out who's safe and who's not. But the more that you create a place of safety for yourself, the easier it will be. So your work is not to go out there and try to be yourself. The work is to give yourself the safety that you need in order for you to be yourself. You got to go out there. You got to make a decision that you want to be here. And then you got to do your daily work to actually make the world safe for you to be here. That's how it works. Yeah. And then one day you'll just be, we'll start happening naturally.
I was just going to say, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Being myself will be the consequence of making my world safe. Or feeling safe within myself. Yeah.
Will be the result.
Yeah.
Not
result. Yeah. Yeah. Consequence is kind of negative. Yeah.
That's like that little demon in there saying, oh no, we ain't doing this. It's a consequence. So language matters, right? Language matters. And so it's a result, it's a benefit. It's the prize ultimately is getting to truly be alive and being fully, able to live. Right. I'm so proud of you. This was so good.
Thank you so much. I really needed this.
I'm so glad. So I will do a follow-up with you, and I'm really, really appreciate your time, coming on here, and for me and for, all the other people, because you know how it is when we witness somebody else's transformation and somebody else's breakthrough, so many people get an opportunity to learn. So
thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this. I will see everybody back here next Wednesday. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Bye.